before we do a comprehensive needs analysis, with our clients, we can take very rudimentary but also important visual assessments. Visual assessments are important in determining someone's body composition. We can look at someone and determine to some measure their somatotype, right? It I find offers it reassures your trainee that you have expertise in body composition by offering them a constructive assessment of their ideal body type, which is very important. It's important that we ourselves are attuned to the natural configuration of an athlete's or an active client's body type. With no respect to this, we might not see the changes that an active client makes as either futile or beneficial. If you have a client that is 6'2", but they're an endomorph, they might not ever get to the point where they're having very lean biceps, very lean shoulders. And that's okay, as long as our body fat composition matches their needs. However, our clients come in unaware that an ideal weight, maybe from a BMI, is not beneficial. And it's important that our visual assessments are attuned, especially to somatotypes. It also helps us with our interviews that we'll perform later on. Gives us slight insights into maybe a person's genetic physical makeup, because our trainees might have a limited insight and be governed more by unrealistic expectations, either from magazines, other ephemera and media, or from other members of their family that look differently. Informing them that their body types are, say, ectomorphic versus their families, which might be mesomorphic, is highly important in them being reassured in self-efficacy responses to training. It's very important, guys. Of course, you have your ectomorphs, your endomorphs, your mesomorphs, and combination. Ecto, meso, and you can combine three of these. It is stated that most people are a mix of two. Which one are you? Think about which one you are. Maybe you have a brother or sister. Which one is she? Is she straight mesomorphic or is she ectomesomorphic? Our ratios are an important indicator of health and obesity. And as expert coaches, we can make pre-qualifications visually by observing clients' waist to hip ratio. Is it greater than 1? Is it way less than 1? Visually, we can tell right off the bat. And by doing so, we can maybe make a biased assumption of our client's current athletic status, one that will support their narrative to you in the interview process. And the better we can attach to the narratives of our trainees, the more confident they're going to feel in telling you what's going on. People oftentimes work out for months or weeks at a time, and they're not aware of how often they're working out, and they stop being aware sometimes of how hard they're working out. The intensities because of an injury or a life or work circumstance could change or dip. Maybe they're used to doing the same type of workouts. Well, as a result, maybe they've been eating the same throughout. These two. So it's very important that we take accurate measurements and that the precision gets better over time. These assessments and measurements help us to draw out a profile of the type of trainee that we have, and then help us direct our attention to their needs. It's important that we start talking about weight, the concept of an ideal weight, their body composition, which is their makeup of body fat versus lean body mass. And so in order to do that, we employ tools. It could be a biometrical impedance, which is the handheld body fat tester that basically tells you how hydrated you are for the day. It can be tape measurements. It can be hydrostatic weighing. It can be hip to waist ratios measured. These things help us get good, and they're called anthropometrics on the whole. All those types of measurements, height, weight, relationship to age, they're going to help us draw equations. They're going to help us map out a plan for our clients. Right away, we want to get used to the the synergy that exists between our clients. So as we build rapport, that's where we're going to introduce specific types of measurements. If this is someone that you've just met, you're definitely going to hold back on throwing them on the scale right away. Especially if they haven't been on a scale in a while. And really, even if they stand on the scale every day. It's important that we build up trust and a trusting rapport between, the coach and your trainee. So most clients are aware of obviously their age, and more than likely their height, but you'd be surprised on the height. Some people shrink when you ask them to step onto a scale to get their height. And so you will have a tape measure that goes from the top of their head that's flat on the wall down to the base of their feet, flat and relaxed shoulders, and you're going to get their height. Next, as we've kind of built a trusting rapport, we've asked questions, it's probably 10 minutes in, after the greeting phase, we can move on to the measurements which most trainees are less aware of. These have everything to do with an accurate scale and getting their weight. That would be the first measurement of the first anthropometric measurement that we use. And then we can go ahead and take out the tape measure and get the waist and hip circumference along with other circumferences up and down the body. And this gives us, again, a chance to create accurate measurements that we look for precise changes in, meaning the change should be gradual. If we notice that our client has lost 6 inches and it's been 1 week, it's not precise, and so we have to readjust our measurements. It's pretty easy stuff. But again, we want to make sure that we don't invade the personal space of others. And I think that's pretty obvious. So this is the way that we do our waist to hip ratio, which is an indicator of future health concerns and is a measure of obesity. So in my experience, in visually being able to see, there is no difference in the hip to waist ratio, right? Before we measure, it might be an indicator of how in shape or healthy the habits of your trainee have been. And so we confirm this with an actual tape measure. So you go ahead and grab your tape measure. You grab your tape measure, and the safest bet is going to be, you can feel for the lowest rib, or just look for the narrowest part of your trainee's belly area and go slightly above the belly button so that the tape measure maybe touches the top of the belly button. Record that number. Do the same thing right around the butt and the hips, which is the same thing. It's the hip. And record that number. You're going to divide the waist, the top number, by the bottom number. And you're going to look for a ratio, obviously. It's going to be close to 1. This is taken from acefitness.org. And if you see it's matching or above 1, it's considered at risk for future health concerns. There have been correlations drawn in those men and women that approach 1 on a waist to hip ratio. But remember, this is one of many crucial measurements you take. And quality coaches are going to put these measurements together and compile a great profile of their trainee. And of course, the 5 crucial measurements, we'll take them on the right side of the body. We'll do the unflexed arms with our tape measure. We'll do the waist. We'll go up a little bit higher for waist 2. Hips, thigh, and calf. We're going to do the waist to hip ratio. We'll describe what the results mean. And we'll do some kind of body fat measurement with our calipers or with our BIA. Practice with your calipers. Practice on someone you know. It's better to do it on somebody else. Someone that doesn't mind being squeezed for a little bit, of course. And practice quite a bit, because bodies are so different that you have to kind of know exactly where you're going to go on the body, how you're going to pinch, how far down to practice. As far as your biometrical impedance analysis, I found that the thing is precise in that it'll tell you, like, if you started at 25 and over time it's going to 24.3, then 23, then 23.3. Okay, that's great. Is the number 100% correct? Maybe, maybe not. So it's best to do this on yourself first. See what the number is. Do calipers on, have someone do calipers on you, compare them, and see how accurate your BIA is before you use it on others. Going back to these measurements with our tape measure, typically you'll see your women drop in the waist first, and they'll have the biggest loss here, and start to get a grasp for what your athletic and active clients, what type of weight loss they're expected to see based on their gender, and tell them, hey, your calves might not drop a whole lot, but since you do a lot of jumping rope, it might go up. Know that that's muscle. Be able to explain future successes to them early on. And last, if they get a DEXA scan or hydrostatic weighing, have them bring in the results and keep it there if you need to outsource and you know a good spot.